I'm the Blue Boy. Welcome to the rant for another week. Well, the season's 3/4 done and the Blues are in 4th spot. But geez, they've had a struggle the last three or 4 weeks. Just before I get to the game this week, I want to cover a few things that have really pissed me off. Ray Chamberlain really needs to shut his mouth and blow the whistle. He's a disgrace, and I don't care how good a whistleblower he is, he needs to shut his mouth. Mick Moldhouse and Nathan Buckley, well, they need to shut their mouths too. Eddie Maguire needs to get them behind closed doors and sort this crap out, and let's get on with football. In today's age, Mike Sheehan wrote an article called "Scully as Good as Gone." Well, Mike Sheehan, does anyone really give a crap? I don't. I'm sick of Scully watch. If he goes to GWS, well, good luck to him. If I could make $5 million over a couple of years, I'd take it too. One last thing before we get on to the game. Brilliant announcement today. Cole Chisel's back on the road. I can't wait to go see the boys belt out a few songs. Anyway, on to the game. This is a big game for both teams today. Well, on Saturday night, I should say. Wish it was today. I'd be watching it right now, wouldn't I? The Bombers need to win to keep pace with the top 8. There's a big cluster of teams between 6 and 9 and 10 who can all make the semis. And St Kilda is going to be on their tail, and Freo and the Sydney Swans will all be looking to push the Bombers out of the 8. They really need the win. The Blues really need the win to keep touch with the top 4. They've had a couple of big losses in the last few weeks. West Coast, Western Bulldogs, and they were a bit better last week against the Pies, but they still suffered a loss. The Blues are hurting with the loss of their tall timber. Jamison, Waite, Hampson, Satanta, and we've just been lacking targets up forward and a lack of defensive pressure down back. The Bombers are flying. They've won 3 in a row. They even beat the Cats. Their last 2 wins, they haven't been quite as impressive against Adelaide and Richmond, but still, a win is a win. They've had some big improvers, Ryder, Zaharakis, and the big diver himself, Angus Monfries, really stood up and had a good game last week. The Blues really need their forwards to fire. Ratten's come out in yesterday's press and said he expects Matty Cruiser to do more up forward. Well, Matty Cruiser needs some help. Matty Cruiser needs help from the likes of Eddie Betts, Jeff Garlett and Andrew Walker. These guys just have underperformed in the last 4 or 5 weeks. There's some big ins for Carlton. Dennis Armfield comes back. He's quick, very good with his feet, good with his hands, good decision maker. He'll add some speed down back. Marcus Davies hasn't played since the semi-final last year against the Swans. He's a big, tall lad. He'll make a good presence up forward. Zach Tui's back after a week off through injury. Last week, the Blues could not control the Pies, especially Travis Cloke up forward. Travis Cloke is a lump of a man, and quite frankly, he's the best full forward in the game at the moment. The bad thing for the Bombers is they do not have a forward target anywhere near the class of Travis Cloke. I don't think the Bombers are going to have anywhere near the firepower to put a score on the board to beat the Blues. Notable thing, Sanders sitting on the emergency list. Don't be surprised if he's a late inclusion come about 6:30 on Saturday night. So down to the verdict. The Bombers have got 3 in a row, a good win against the Cats, but they weren't as good against Richmond or Adelaide. The Blues have had losses to the West Coast, the Dogs and the Pies. And they had a massive win against Richmond. Last week, they were better against the Pies, but they just couldn't get over the line. Too many mistakes, and the Pies were just too classy. Brett Ratten was happy with the effort last week, but in his own words, we won't be patting players on the back for a loss. I like this new attitude at Carlton. It reminds me of the team of the 1995 Premiership. It's a we expect to win attitude. And I expect the Blues to win this week at least 3 goals. On to the other games, quickly. The Saints will give it to Adelaide. North Melbourne will absolutely thrash the Brisbane Lions. I expect Sydney to bounce back after a disappointing loss last week. That could just about finish the Doggies' semi-final hopes. I'm scared to even think about the score in the Pies versus the Gold Coast. It could be 25, 30 goals. Geelong, well, Richmond, their season's over and they will cop an absolute thrashing from Richmond. The Hawks, well, they've had the bye and the bye's been a bit of a voodoo, but I expect them to beat Melbourne. And the Wet Toast will do the business over Freo at Subi. I'm the Blue Boy, and that's the rant.